Hello and welcome back to another video. This problem, we're given this parabola whose equation we're told is y is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 15. And we're told which of the following from these answers is an equivalent form of this equation where the coordinates of vertex A can be identified within the equation. Now, the way this problem is put in the actual test, I think is a little bit silly because you can just look at the vertex in the graph and see, okay, it's these coordinates and those numbers are only in this answer set once, so therefore that must be the answer. But if we actually want to think about how you would actually get to that if you didn't have the numbers on the axes, like I've left them out here, we have to think about how do we find the vertex in a quadratic equation. So the way you do that is you have to complete the square, where y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k, and this is the form of the quadratic, where a is just the just some constant that's going to multiply, that's going to determine the steepness of the curve, but then h and k is the coordinates for the vertex. So the way we're going to do that here, we don't have an a since there's no number in front of the x, it's just 1x squared. So we're going to have y is equal to x squared minus 2x plus some number, and this is going to be a square, minus 15, and then minus that same number, right? Because when we're adding a number, we have to subtract the same amount just to keep things the same. So how do we get this number from this information? So the rule you can use is if you just have a 1 in front of your x squared, right? And if you had something like 2x squared plus 4x plus blank, right? If you just want to divide everything by 2, and then you would have on top x squared plus 2x plus blank, then that's fine. And you could just go through it there. But we're already given x squared has a coefficient of 1, and therefore we can use this trick. You take your middle term, negative 2, you divide it by 2, and then you square it. Okay, and this is going to give you negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1 squared, which is plus 1. And therefore over here, it's going to be minus 1. And if we think about actually writing out the factors of this, right, so it's going to be a square, so it's going to be x, and this term is minus, and then the square root of 1 is 1, so it's x minus 1 times x minus 1. The way we got divide by 2 and square it is because you have the negative 2 is coming from this negative 1 plus this negative 1. Right, so it's actually over counting the actual value right here because you're adding it to itself. But then when you're multiplying it, you're squaring that number. So if that made any sense, hopefully that could maybe give you some insight into why we're doing this. It's not just random. But then we have negative 15 minus 1 is negative 16. And getting this into a proper form, we have x minus 1 squared minus 16. And then your a is just 1, so we don't even have to write that. And you'll notice this lines up with answer D. Again, if you were given this in the book, you could have seen that it lines up perfectly with 1, negative 16, but I think it's better if you understand the concepts behind it because you might not always be given such a good graph. But anyways, thank you as always for liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.